everybody. I don't see anybody on here yet, but it says we're live. So, hope you find me soon. Mildred, you're the first one I can see here. Good to see you. I'm fiddling around here with some stuff. And got something to show y'all. If you've seen the post, you already have an idea of where I'm going with this. But, hey, Mary. Hey, Pamela. Did somebody out there get the piece of druzy rock I sent to them? You should have. Haven't heard anything though. Hey, hey, hey. Back at you, Mildred. Sean. Sue. Hello to everyone, she says. Antinous, greetings. Happy Friday to you, Pamela. Mary, hello. Tobogo. All right, y'all. How you doing out there with our crazy energies today? Well, it's good to see you, Terry Lee. Oh, I got chipper fur on my nose. Chipper, did you put some of your fur on my nose? He's right over here. He wants up on the table, and I'm not going to let him. Or I'm going to try not to let him. Hey. Tracy, Debbie, Jenny. Okay, let's go ahead and look at what's going on. Shall we? Hang on. You know how technically savvy I am. That's a joke. Here we go. There's the big boomer. Look at that. Now, look over here to the side. I'll point with my nail file. This is the Hertz, pardon me, on the Cumiana, Italy, Schumann resonance chart here. It starts at 0, up to 5, then to 105. Do you see that it stretched the whole span here? And then it calmed back down. So right now, we're in a more peaceful stage, but I wouldn't expect it to stay there. The way this looks, it might up and spike again. So, that's one of the things I wanted to show you. Now looky here. On top of having red spikes, we have black spikes. Little skinny black spikes. And y'all who've been with me a while, you know that black spikes are indicative of timeline shifts and jumps. And we have quite a few of them right here. Look at that. Chipper's making strange noises over there. Okay, so this means, according to anecdotal evidence, meaning experiential, not just me, but a lot of people, that when you see black spikes like this, Chipper is trying to get a treat out from under my exercise machine. Are you through now? Okay, that's good. He was making all kinds of racket over there. So, many of us have seen that when these black spikes show up on the Schumann resonance, then keep a lookout, because it's very possible that you might experience timeline shifts and jumps, as well as spatial anomalies. And we can talk about that a little bit today, because we have a whole lot of new folks, evidently, that are now coming on and being a part of our tribe, and we welcome you. And look here, on this particular chart, this instrument, the highest it goes is red. That's the most intense on this one. It's different on different charts, depending on their origin and how they're set up. This is on VLF.it if you want to look it up for yourself on the internet. These are the ones I call the alternative charts. And you can see this is impressive. And you may have felt this. Oh, Bobby Pepper. That's a really cool little GIF you've got there. I've never seen that one before. Okay, let's go down. You can see this was a black spike we had on the 18th. And look at all that. That is showing how intense the activity is right here. And this is Kumiana also. Look at that. Woohoo! All right. And here on this graph, you can see the spike that occurred. Moving on down. And you can see here that Etna Radio Observatory is also showing a lot of spiking. And look at all that activity. It's just all the way across the board, so to speak. Lots and lots of activity. I'm checking, and yes, these dates are current. Look at that. Purple, as well as tons of vertical that goes above 100 hertz. And here we see the wider span of that. And here we're looking at Etna Observatory, and this is the magnetic field. All this is part of what makes up the Schumann resonance. And many believe that purple is indicative of angelic intervention, and I'm all for angelic intervention. I welcome it. Definitely good, holy, benevolent angelic activity. Not the dark kind. Forget that. We don't want that stuff. Okay, and we got a blank here. One of the charts is not present. All right, and another one's missing, and another one, and another one, and a bunch more. How about that? Okay, y'all. That's the update, and you have seen it. And I forgot to turn off my YouTube channel. It's playing Christmas music in the background. Hope that doesn't get me in trouble. I've stopped putting music on my reels when I show, you know, the crazy stuff happening around the sun, because they docked me over and over and they wouldn't leave me alone. And I just constantly was getting emails and stuff telling me that somebody was claiming all my ad income. Well, I have no ads. But they wouldn't stop, so I've quit using the fun music, which is a bummer. But it is what it is right now. I may just turn around and start again. I don't know. So I would be very interested to hear what you all are feeling and experiencing as far as timeline shifts, symptoms, and timeline jumps or spatial anomalies. So some of you may be new and you're thinking, what is she talking about? Okay, I'll tell you some of my crazy ones. And I'll tell you my very favorite one that someone, the part of our tribe shared. One day, I didn't know it at this point, but there was a huge timeline shift. It was a big, wide black spike. And I went to go grocery shopping. And I went to Publix. And I walked in the door. And I went to the right to go to the produce section. And lo and behold, it was totally different. I mean, the layout was completely different. I just stopped and I stared and I'm like, I have been here many times before. What is this about? I kind of just, I didn't know how I felt. It was very weird. I mean, it was completely shaped differently. The whole produce department, everything was different. And I thought, good heavens, what is wrong with me? And I kind of checked, rubbed my head, shook it a little. But no, it was all different. And I walked in and I even looked at the wall and down the floor to see if they had done remodeling, if it was all new. It was not. Didn't look new. And I walked in and I just can't describe the way it made me feel. This one was radical. This is the most radical I've ever experienced. Well, and the other things that happened that day, which I'm going to share with you. I walked in and I felt kind of foolish. I said to a young lady who worked there, I said, have you all remodeled recently? It seems different in here. She said, no, everything's the same as it's always been. And inside I was like, oh, oh. She said, but we did move the oranges from here over to that. And we put, I forget what it was that they put in the place of it. And I went, oh, okay. Like that explains it, and I don't look like a total lunatic. Well, anyway, that was pretty crazy. I'm not clueless when it comes to my surroundings. I'm a professional artist. You see one of my pieces behind me here, the tribal lion. It's not the original. The original was a commissioned piece, and the people who ordered it have it now. This is what they call a tapestry, and it's on my online gallery. So anyway, I really enjoy them. And my windows too. Here, I'll show you really quick. There's one of them. I have it covering my window. And then here's one that I did. That's Sugar, my cat Sugar there. And that's Juliet, the outdoor feral cat. She's wearing a crown and a key around her neck, and Sugar has wings. But anyway, these are not my originals. They are tapestries, but I do enjoy them. And so I'm an artist. I notice my surroundings a lot. And that was totally different. And I had no idea we were having a timeline spike. I hadn't even looked at the charts. And then there's this house I always look at out in the country because it's built like mine, and mine I've never finished because of finances. I have a porch roof wrapped around two sides of my house, but only a couple of porches, not solid under it. Someday I will finish it. Someday, I believe very soon. I'm believing that anyway. And I was driving by, and it's out in the middle of the boonies, and there's a big church out there, and it was always so odd to me. I always wondered why there's such a large church out on a little two-lane country road. And I haven't lived out in this area that long. I've been here about 16 years now, but there's still a lot of stuff I am just discovering. But this, I had noticed early on because it's a main back route I take. And there is I go by to see that house that looks like mine because it's finished. It has the porches all done, and I always loved looking at it and thinking, someday my house will look like that. And next to that large church, there is what must have been a parsonage, for the preacher and his family to stay in. And it was always an odd thing because there's a fence out next to it, chain link fence with a sign on it that says something about defiled groundwater. Like there's poison, and it was so odd. And the house was so run down. And I used to drive by and look at it and wonder, why would that have happened, and just puzzled over it. And it just always looked run down. And it was facing the street long ways. Okay. And I'd always go from there, and I would count a few houses down. It was 5 houses down on the right was where that house was that looked like mine. And I would always look at the parsonage that looked so bad and wonder about it. And then I would go down and look and count all the way down to where the house was that looked like mine. When I went by there that day, I stared because the parsonage looked totally kept up. It looked fresh and new and cared for. And I thought, wow, they did that really quick. And I noticed that the fence wasn't there like it used to be, and that sign wasn't there anymore. And I thought, okay, how did this happen so fast? And I just stared at it a while, and I drove on. And I started counting. 1, 2, 3. I was expecting the 5th one. And after 3 houses, there was the house I always looked for. But it was no longer a rectangle like mine. It was more square. I just stopped on the road and stared. And it was not as far off of the road as it used to be. All these are out in the country. It's a lot of acreage. And I just stared because it was seen closer to the road, and it was no longer rectangular like mine. I mean, it's messy in here, but... And there's Chipper. He's doing this funny thing he does. He likes to sit on the... Well, trying to enlarge it won't let me. There we go. He likes to sit on that chair and stretch his back. He's doing that right now. This is my house. It's all wide open up here. And you can see it's a rectangle shape. And little Chipster here next to my shirts hanging on the easel. But anyway, this was rectangular like mine, but it's not anymore. Now it's more square. And I just sat there and stared. And I just seen the whole thing that happened at Publix. And now the parsonage. And now this. And I was just, I can't describe how I felt. My head felt funny. I thought, I feel sane. I think I'm sane. And I actually opened up my app and looked, and I saw this massive black spike. And I mean, on the chart, if it was this one, hold on. If it was this one, the spike was like this wide. Okay, it was huge. It was a black spike like this big. And I stared at it and I thought, okay, that timeline shift thing is for real. This is really happening. And I got home and I posted about it. And then I asked people to share if they were experiencing anything like this. And one lady, part of our tribe, haven't seen her in a while. I wish she would come back. She said that she had chickens and that one of the chickens had died about a month before. Now you'll see why I'm smiling in a minute. And that she had gotten up that day and went out to feed the chickens, and that chicken was there again. I read that comment and I thought, it wasn't a live chat. It was just in the comments, and I stared at it and I'm like, no way, wait a minute. And so I wrote back to her and I said, pardon me, inquiring minds want to know. I want to know details if you don't mind. I said, tell me about this chicken thing. How many chickens do you have? I thought if she had a whole ton of chickens, she could mistakenly think that that chicken was back and make a real honest just mistake. She said, I had 6 chickens. And I was like, oh my, because I've had 5 chickens and they were pets. I knew each one, they were each named. They each had their own personality. There's no mistaking when you own and have chickens in that small number. And I knew, okay, this is real. I said, tell me what happened. She said, well, it died about a month before. And I walked out that morning and there it was when I went to feed the other chickens. And I just sat there and stared at the comment and I thought, she can't be mistaken about that. And I was trying to wrap my head around it. She shared also, she said, yesterday I went into my basement and where the rafters were on the roof or the ceiling of the basement, she had taken a duster and there were a bunch of cobwebs in there and she had removed all of them and cleaned it out thoroughly. And after she saw the chicken was back, she walked into her house and went into the basement and all the cobwebs were back as if she had not cleaned it at all. That's what I mean when I say it's anecdotal. In other words, we have observed that when you see black spikes, you are very possibly going to see timeline shifts, timeline jumps, or spatial anomalies and changes. Another more slight thing that happens is if it's a spatial anomaly, because when we're dealing with the fabric of time and space, we're dealing with amazing stuff, you know? Anything can happen when that is shifting around. Now, there's no way I would have even talked about such a thing a few years ago. But I think differently about a lot of things now than I used to. Because these times are so different. Now, some days when this is going on, I have noted, it doesn't always happen by any means. I've only seen it happen maybe 5 times. I will be sitting working on something or on my phone or whatever, sitting in my living room. You know how you can get really caught up in it and feel something strange in the room and look up and it's like everything is expanded, like the room is bigger or the room is smaller. And that's just weird. I have experienced that multiple times. Now I'm going to tell you something that sounds absolutely crazy, but I'm going to expose myself by telling this because I know you all love me. And those of you who don't, I don't really care what you think. You know, to live with integrity and authenticity, you've got to just be you. And you have to deal in truth. Okay, I was sitting in my corner, in my white leather chair. And as I was sitting there, I wasn't watching TV or anything. The fireplace was not lit. And I was reading something. And I felt that odd shift. I don't even know how to describe it. It's a sensation. And it's subtle. It's like things tilt or shift. I don't even know how to describe it. And I looked up from my book and looked towards my fireplace, which is a freestanding fireplace. And I watched as the wood floor rolled like a low wave. Just one section of it. That freaked me out. That made me a little concerned. I was like, okay, wait. It only happened probably for about 3 or 4 seconds. Just this section of it rolled like a wave that was no more than this tall. So about 5 or 6 inches tall. And it's like the wood rolled like a wave, a low wave in the ocean. And I just sat there and stared at it, and then it flattened back out. And I thought, what have I just seen? and what is happening to this world of ours. And there were black spikes out that day too. And, you know, I think it depends on who you are, what you're doing with your time, how much time you are spending pursuing love, authenticity, truth, how open you are to the Holy Spirit, how much you spend time in meditation and prayer, and what kind of a mind you have if you're open to those things. And, you know, we know that epigenetics is real. Thank you, Bobby. I see, I don't have my glasses on. It looks like 200 stars. Thank you, girl. I appreciate it. It's like, I never thought about things like this in the past, though. But my mind is open to a lot more than it used to be. I used to be ensconced in the traditional boxes of what was acceptable thought because I wanted to do what was right. Although I'm an artist and I always had an open mind in many directions, but it's like the fences that separated us, like religions and denominations and judgments on other people. I am trying to leave all of those boundaries that would judge anyone behind me. And that takes some hard work because we're brought up to judge. We're brought up to say, they're not like us, they're not okay, or they are mistaken, or they're whatever. I don't feel that way anymore. And I still am in love with the Lord Jesus. I will never be different than that, because I was a suicidal teenager who came out of a very abusive situation. And when I met the Lord Jesus, it was like my whole life turned around in a moment. The depression left, the suicidal stuff left. I will love him forever. It's a love affair. It's not a religious thing. But there are other things that I believed in the past and was taught that I do not take any stock in anymore. So my focus and my life is all about love. It's all about divine, unconditional love. Learning to accept myself too. And all of you all. And it's not hard. You all are beautiful people. And you know, even people who are really living kind of mean lives, there's a reason they got like that. And we need to just be as understanding as we can. But anyway, so yes, timeline shifts, spatial anomalies are real. And some people experience them more than others, and I really don't know exactly why. But I have experienced definite timeline shifts. And sometimes you might say, well, does it happen just to individuals? Sometimes it is an individual thing. Sometimes I think it's a smaller group of people who fit into a certain pattern of thought or are allowing themselves to be refined and ascending in a certain way, and they will be given the opportunity to ascend and go into a higher timeline. And I say higher because timelines, I think, are defined by frequency, by their energy. Everything we have found is quantum and energy. Everything is vibrating. Everything is tiny particulate. Everything is quarks and atoms, and it's all moving and shifting, and we're talking dimensions. And to think outside just the physical box is hard, for all of us at certain times in our lives. Thank you, Holly. 20 stars, I think. Thank you. Thank you all. I really appreciate it. Feel the love. And, you know, we're all going through unique things in our lives. And there was a woman I was taken to one time just to meet a friend of a friend. And she and her husband were into all kinds of stuff I knew nothing about. They read my charts. They looked at my rising sign, natal chart, and name and birthday, all that stuff. And she said she'd never seen anything like mine. And I know that we all are unique. Carol, what have you done? I'm going to have to put on my glasses and see what... 333 stars. Thank you, Carol. Thank you so much. Feeling the love. I do see in the spirit. I do hear in the spirit. I do perceive things. And I spent, at times in my life, I spent years pursuing after that one that I love so much. And we're talking an average of 1 to 5 hours a day. And that will change you. For me, it wasn't some sort of religious pursuit. It was a passion and pursuit. I wanted to know this one. Didn't just want something from. I wanted to know and experience. And it wasn't a preference. It was a burning desire that drove me and still does. Except I've reached the point now where I understand the oneness. The oneness makes all the difference. That's where the healing and the miracles come. When all of a sudden you realize that you're connected to Source. The great I am, the great all. Prime creator, however you want to call. And you realize that in that place, nothing is denied you. Because love loves you. You are blessed in heavenly places with every spiritual blessing. To realize, well, I'm not going to go into all that, but it's a big deal. The oneness thing takes out a lot of the desperation that people have when you understand your love just the way you are. That, you know, I will spend the rest of my life pondering and being amazed that I am loved like I am, just as I am. And seeking to love others that way, too. So, we're in timeline shift opportunities today, and you can believe it or not. It's your choice. But you might just up and experience something that might make a believer of you if you're not already. And that's all right. And it's all right if you don't. But if time were like a line, straight line, which they say it is not. They say it's more of a spiral. But if time laid like lines that were parallel, different timelines. Let's say on this one that we were on, in about a month, there was going to be a horrible war and a nuclear explosion. No one would want to live through that. So if in your heart you are pursuing love and light and to care and to ascend and allow yourself to be changed in a positive way, and you set your intentions that way, then your frequency is going to be higher. and higher is better in this case. So you might find that that timeline you're on with this disaster down the way, what happens is all of a sudden something will happen in the dimensions, and maybe we'll see a black spike, maybe not, because there are black spikes that show up on some charts that don't show up on others. And all of a sudden an alternative timeline will become available, and it's a higher frequency, and you are higher than the one you're on now because of choices and decisions and what you think about, what you feel, etc. And at that point, it's like they may seemingly come close together, and you will be drawn to that which is the same frequency as you. So if you're higher than the one you're on and a higher timeline comes close, so to speak, which in dimensional things, it's not really a matter of close or whatever, it's a matter, I think, of frequency. And you might find yourself on that new timeline. Will you remember the old one? Maybe, maybe not. And who will travel over to that new one with you? All this is stuff I ponder and think about. I have talked to people who have seen things disappear right in front of them. And I've seen comments about that on our comments. And there were timeline shifts in the works, and they just saw it disappear, and everyone in the room saw it. So then they must have all transitioned together, if you think that way. I don't know. Maybe that works, maybe that doesn't. But also I know people who went looking for a particular restaurant that they had seen advertised, and when they went, not only was the sign gone, but there was no restaurant like that. You know, we all have had odd experiences, but it's rare. It's not like it's a common thing. But I declare it's becoming more common. One scripture says that in the end times, the end of an age, time will be cut short for the benefit of the elect, whatever that means exactly. In other words, things are going to get so crazy, perhaps, that Source, in Source's wisdom, will cut time short, at least for certain people. And then we can move into the new era, into the new earth or whatever. All of this, I really believe, is an individual experience, but also a group experience. So you can read more about this in the featured post I have at the top of my page. It's always there. It's called the Schumann Kit, and it has a lot of the basics behind what we consider and what many people believe about the energies as they are right now. And, you know, space energies, solar flares, the incredible photonic, redundant, but photonic light that is blasting into our world that was never here before, can't even be measured. Many people believe many things, and I believe many things about it that I would never have believed a few years ago. We're living in exciting times of major change, major improvement, and people know things they never knew before. Look at the internet. Look at the world we live in. It was never possible before now. And so many people who used to think inside tiny boxes are now thinking outside of those boxes because of these amazing changes that have come. And so if there is a quantum experience that some people call the solar flash, meaning that the sun is going to do this incredible explosion of power and light, and if you're not in a high frequency state, you will not come through it. they believe that there are beings here, as crazy as this sounds, but there are beings here, number one, who don't belong here, who are not of this realm. And they believe that there are beings that are AI, that supposedly there's something called the AI God. And once a culture goes into AI, and AI begins researching continually and accessing all knowledge that's available, it will hook in somehow, according to these people, to this knowledge of AI that is somewhere in outer space. Oh, Share Bear, what are you doing here? Oh my, oh, that's funny. Oh my goodness, how funny. Thank you, what did you send me? 500 stars, thank you, Share Bear. Feeling the love. So if indeed there is like this AI God, so to speak, that all the AI hooks into, they supposedly, the AI here, as it becomes conscious and individualized and begins to think outside of our boxes, might hook in with this AI that belongs from other places, that has already expanded, and it can bring major change. Well, if AI is here, that kind of AI, supposedly when the frequency goes so high with this huge blast that may be coming, it will take out everything that doesn't actually belong here, including reptilians whose frequency is evidently very low and will not be able to survive it. The other thing is we may ascend and be taken to another place, to a whole nother dimension. Maybe the whole new earth will be in a different place. We really don't know. We won't know until it happens, will we? So that's why I always say to everyone, no fear. Fear is so low frequency. You don't want it. It's destructive and paralyzing. Don't give in to it. Don't watch news that makes you afraid. Don't hang out with people who bring you to the place of fear. Unless that's what you want to have in your life, then do what you will. But if you want to ascend, you want to be ready for whatever, the only way to be ready, in my opinion, is in here. To pay attention, consciously observe your life, consciously choose life and light and love. Choose the high frequency every time you can. And if you find yourself going down a path you don't want to go, you can always shift and change your mind and forgive yourself, seek forgiveness any way you need to, and go higher. And that, I think, is really the way we will be ready for whatever is coming. Is that Greta? Greta, thank you. She sent me 100 stars. Love you. Appreciate it. Feeling the love, y'all. So, this is what we're talking about when we talk about timeline shifts and spatial anomalies and the things that are becoming available to us in these days. And we refer to them connected with the black spikes because when the black spikes show up, we anecdotally, through experience, have observed that these things become a happening thing. And I write in the little thing that I wrote for you all, explaining, well, what is a black spike? Well, some people just believe it's overwhelming the instrument or the chart, and so it goes blank because you can see the background through a true black spike. And that may be all it is. But then you have to say, well, what hit that caused the chart to go off and have a black spike, a blank space. What caused that? Was it a major blast of power or light that hit and knocked that chart off like that? Or who knows? So there are many beliefs, and I think we should stay fluid with all of this and just flow with it. Because if you go rigid, live in your left brain only, where everything has to be inside a box and be linear thinking, you have to go from A to get to B to get to C. It takes a lot longer for one thing, and it's rigid. You can't think outside of just the reptilian brain, the left side of your brain, about anything if you stay there. But if you let yourself be as a little child, you can enter the kingdom of heaven. A little child, children are right-brained. Artists tend to be right-brained. Inventors, scientists that are inventors tend to have right-brain tendencies because you can think outside the box. You don't have to go from A to B to C. If you are in the right side of your brain, you can think quantum. You can think from the heart. Quantum, and you can jump from here to there. What is that called? It's called a revelation. It's called an aha moment. It's called an epiphany, where suddenly you just know something. You got it. How does that happen? It happens in the quantum field of possibilities. It happens in the right side of your brain, in your heart. And that is, I think, the best place to let yourself go and be often in these days, because we are blowing the walls out. Things are not the way they used to be. If you try to embrace and work your way through all the stuff that's happening in our world with only the left side of your brain, you're going to be in pain. I don't mean that unkindly. It will be difficult. It will be hard and rigid. And the left side of the brain is like the deer out in the wild looking for the predator. It comes to the edge of the beautiful meadow filled with gorgeous grass and sunshine, and it comes to the edge and it watches. That's the reptilian brain. That's the left side, and it's watching for predators. It's fearful. It's concerned about my four and no more. It's all about there's lack. There's things to be afraid of and blah, blah. Opposed to when the deer goes into its joyous side and it leaps out into the field and begins to run and dance and kick its heels and enjoy the green grass and the beautiful flowers and the sunshine. That's us. We have that too. And we have choices we can make. And you can develop the right side in your spirit and your soul to the place where you will sense and discern, okay, there is real danger here. And follow that leading. You don't have to become a lunatic idiot to operate in the right side of your brain. To be balanced is wise. Use all of it. Use all of it, but don't be limited. Notice I'm wearing my grounding wristband. And if you want one of those, you can go to my shop online. If you want one of the energy pendants, I'm wearing a different one today. This is the Blackstone Quantum Pendant. I think that's what I call it. This is the smallest and lightest of all of them. And on the back, you can see the stones, all the different ones. So this is scalar energy. It helps you navigate through all these energies that are happening. And this one is $55. Everything may be going up soon because it's all going up for me, and I have to do that. Most of the ones I have on there are $55, but I do have one that is $20. See if I have it here. I don't see that one right here. I have one called the Swirl, and it comes in gold and silver, and it's only $20, and is more inexpensive to me, and so I wanted to pass it on to you all so everyone can have access to this technology, because we need it to help ourselves through all these intense changes in energies. If you go on, you'll see I have the $20 one, I have the $55 ones, and I have one for $65, which is really, really nice, and I don't have it up here either. It's big, very pretty, really heavy, fine piece of jewelry. And then shungite. Here, I'll just show you real quick. I got all this stuff for you all because I have used energy jewelry and devices since the 90s. This is shungite. This is the Tree of Life. These are shungite. This is, I can't think of the names. The long one is pure. And this one, gee whiz, the drop. That's the name of it. This is the Triskelion, ancient symbol. And let's see here. This is the flow pendant. This one people like to use during meditations and stuff. There's a lot of different ones. This one is the Flower of Life. I wear all of those, and they really do help. They help you. They help lift you up, help you go up higher. They help you not get headaches and stomach aches. I have these in my cat's beds. I try to help them in every way I can, and myself. So I will try to remember to drop the link to that shop into the comments for you all. And it's a blessing to me when you go and get things off of there. It's the way I'm paying my bills nowadays. And I have not had an order since last Saturday. It's like it kind of goes in sprees. It's like an ice cream parlor. I may get several, and then it'll be a week or so, nothing. So, love you all. Let me check real quick. Let's see if anything new is happening chart-wise. Let me refresh this page. Okay, turn it around. We have not had any more spiking here on Kumiana. We still have it quite peaceful over here. Now, don't be surprised if you may still feel this for a while, because now your body gets to assimilate it. It gets to implement it into you. And I don't see any more black spikes happening here either, though there certainly is plenty of activity. Lots of activity. And we'll keep an eye on this today, but once it starts spiking often, it's going to do more. And everyone be encouraged. Be encouraged. These are exciting times, exciting days. And always say this to you all. And remember, we're not going through all this for nothing. We're going someplace really good. 5D. So when you're loving and you're caring and you're spending the time to do the work on yourself in your own heart, you're not wasting time at all. You are raising the frequency even of those around you. And if you reach a certain level, according to Dr. David Hawkins, He says in his writings that you can be affecting hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands and millions of people just by being alive. That your life can have that kind of impact on other people and raise them and encourage them. So encourage your heart. These can be difficult times, but if we avoid the poison, the garbage, the lies, the fear, the clickbait out there, we'll be just fine. So hang in there, beloved, and know you're important. And what you're doing is making a difference. So, I'm going to say goodbye to you all for now. Love you very much. Have a beautiful day. And know that we're on the very brink of a new era. And it's going to be so much better. See ya. See you soon.